women are defending marijuana lately as a natural form of relaxing, even though the image of a pothead you usually picture like, Animal House, like some college guy, smoking away. But Emily Dufton wrote about this pot gender gap, and she's here with us now. Emily, are you there? Hi, Emily.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Hi. I'm going to blame the delay on everything pot-related for this segment. Like, we're all super high.
No, you have to blame it on Halloween, which is, I think, a totally legitimate excuse.
Well, so tell us about this gender gap with marijuana.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to say. When I first started researching this article, I mean, I'm a historian by profession, and I'm working on my Ph.D. dissertation right now about the drug war. And I had started kind of researching a bunch of websites about women and pot, and a lot of them were really fun, but they were really silly and really superficial, like, why is it only hot girls who work at medical marijuana dispensaries and things like that. And I kept thinking that there were numerous other really important questions that no one was getting to. And that was the reason why I chose to write the Atlantic piece. Because I think that the more we kind of look at this historically, it's been nearly 20 years since the first state decriminalized medical marijuana, and now we have, a wave of legalization with Colorado and Washington last November. Women have been instrumental in the process of legalizing and decriminalizing marijuana for nearly 20 years, and that's something that no one's paid a lot of attention to yet.
So is there something that made you really interested in this specifically? Was it, in hopes to maybe do a little research of your own?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of part of my larger dissertation anyway. I'm actually writing about a female-led, like a women-led anti-drug coalition in the 1980s that in a lot of ways set up the anti-drug laws that we have now. So it's been really influential. And now we're seeing women on the other side of the coin. Right now it's women part of the Normal Women's Alliance or Mothers Against Misuse and Abuse or Moms for Marijuana who are working for decriminalization as opposed to, strengthening laws against marijuana. And this is a total reversal of previous history, and I think that's what makes it so fascinating.
And why do you think, like, when I hear pothead, first of all, let me just say that, like, pot and myself do not mix. I don't know why, but it is like a quick call to the ambulance. Major meltdown. So I just eat for fun. Like, I don't need drugs to, like, eat all day long. But why do you think potheads are usually considered to be men and not women? Like, when did that kind of start?
I think that's a super important and really interesting question, right? Because we've seen the figure of the pothead in, like, movies and TV for decades, right? From Cheech and Chong to that movie that just came out, This Is the End, with, like, everybody,
or like
Pineapple Express, Half Baked, The Big Lebowski, Friday. I mean, we have, like, numerous examples of men as stoners, and they're all really charming and they're funny and whatever, and, like, we've sort of been taught or conditioned to laugh at that and think that it's pretty cool. I had said in my article that, like, there weren't a whole lot of examples of, women in this position, and actually I got a ton of comments on the article like, well, she didn't see this and she didn't see this. So apparently I haven't seen a bunch of movies, but I guess I'll get on it, I promise. I'm sorry.
Well, clearly the landscape is changing because in January there's a new show on Comedy Central called Broad City, and it's with two girls. It's going to be produced by Amy Poehler, and the main characters are two girls that are really big potheads. So that's a big theme on the show. So clearly, people are taking notice that it's not just guys and are expanding the demographic to show a little more diversity.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens when you have more women involved in media creation. Like, this is a show from Amy Poehler, and it's about two women. And I think the reason, like, the male stoner has been such a long-standing trope is because women haven't been writing or producing or making media. And as you have more women involved, like Jenji Cohen, who produced Weeds, all of a sudden you get these more diverse characters. And now maybe the characters won't just be like these kind of dorky, foolish idiots. Maybe they'll actually be really interesting people who just happen to also, like, smoke weed or whatever.
So in your research, did you look at what are some of the motivations behind the women that have either taken up smoking pot or are more vocal about their usage? Is it, people that have really stressful lives, students, people that really are taking it for health reasons?
I think that the number of reasons for, why women use anything, there are as many reasons as there are people on the planet. I don't know why it's necessarily becoming such a more common thing to hear about, other than, we're at a moment right now where pot's political and social stigma has really been softened. I think it was like 2 weeks ago that the Gallup poll released that 58% of Americans support legalization. So we're having sort of this sea change in how pot is viewed, and I think that makes people more willing to come out and admit to what they're doing.
And, here's another question. Do people really get glaucoma, or is that just like an excuse? Let's be honest.
Glaucoma. I'm not sure.
Everyone's like, well, my glaucoma. I'm like, okay, let's all just take a deep breath here.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, in California, California doesn't have legalized marijuana, but it basically does. It only has medical, but you can go to basically any doctor and say, man, I'm really stressed out, and the doctor will give you a card for medical marijuana. So it's not something that, medical marijuana is regulated to a certain extent, but could be better regulated. And some people are beginning to argue that through full legalization, if you have, regulations and demarcations in place that sell it similar to alcohol or something like that, it might be even more difficult for adolescents to access or something like that. It's more preventative and potentially more like a safer situation for it to be sort of dispersed into the community.
How has the response to your article been thus far?
It's been good. It's been really good. I think people want to know more about the history of women's involvement with decriminalization. I also think I think more people want to know about the effects of weed on women. Recently there's been a series of books about the effects of alcohol on women, and sort of recognizing that a lot more women drink. They drink more than they used to, and there's this entire world of advertising that specifically targets women with certain kinds of wine or whatever. And these books are coming out and saying, if we don't understand how women use alcohol and why women use alcohol, we'll never understand the real effects. And I think the exact same thing, these exact same questions should be posed towards marijuana use. More knowledge is never a bad thing, and more people who can come out and talk about it, the more we can know. So the response to those two things were really great. And then Gawker picked up my article and made this really hilarious satirical article about it, where people made fun of me because I hadn't seen Anna Faris and Smiley Face, and I was like,
oh,
okay,
no.
I get it, I'll watch the movie.
Don't worry, you didn't really miss out. I mean, it was the definition of a stoner movie in that it didn't really make very much sense.
Yeah, the last people in the world who should ever get you down are Gawker commenters. Also, that's bottom of the barrel. Don't even worry about it.
I was like, what do you guys do at work? Comment on Gawker articles and that's it?
Yeah.
Why are you getting paid for this?
You definitely know that you have made it now that Gawker has torn you down. So congratulations on your success. And thank you for joining us. Hopefully we can have you back soon.
That would be awesome. Thanks so much. Happy Halloween.
Yeah,
Same to you. Thanks, Molly.